In this video, I share the completed Gnarlwood terrain set. Not only that, this post also includes my paint recipe painting guide. And, as an extra bonus, I've photographed all 4 of my completed Warcry box games. That's the Warcry Starter Set, Catacombs, Red Harvest, and the latest, Heart of Ghur. This wildly imaginative scenery is probably the most important part of the box game. It instantly transports you to the fantasy environment, and this terrain is so evocative and full of character. It's such a far cry from the obvious ruined buildings of the first Warcry set. I think because the terrain is so creative, it's my favourite so far. There are 6 large sprues packed with amazing details, but, and there is a but, when compared to the previous editions of the game I've painted, it seems pretty sparse despite being a similar number of sprues. Warcry 1 is just crazy value. Whilst the warbands are smaller sizes, you do get a lot of ruins and the Raptorics and Furies Chaos Beast Thralls. Catacombs is great because you get 2 game modes, the Catacombs and the Above World Ruins, with a reversible board. Red Harvest is amazing because you get decent sized platforms and a good height to the board. Heart of Ghur looks the best, but is sparse. All that plastic is used up in the trunks and branches. The trunks are an intricate jigsaw puzzle, a real engineering flex, which gives you an incredibly complex 3D shape with no mould lines or detailed degradation from overhangs in the mould. They're also huge, the biggest plastic trees Games Workshop has made. In the game, the branches are not scalable, so all that plastic used is purely for aesthetic and not usable in a game sense. And I think this is what makes that set feel a little lacklustre in value compared to the previous editions. Despite the feeling of less terrain, I can easily say it took me the longest to paint. All the different textures, materials and details really needed some care and attention to bring it to life, unlike the ruins and wooden platforms of the previous sets that just needed a quick spray and dry brush. Some pieces from the Heart of Ghur set had me wrestling with which colour undercoat I should use. For the trees I used black, and for the bamboo and bone I used white. Some of the scenery though has these elements entwined, so had me having to block in areas with white or black. Really added to the challenge and fun of painting the set. Definitely a rewarding set to paint and look back on. Finally, this is my recipe card for painting the terrain. Hope it's useful. I've made recipe cards for the Horns of Hashat and Rockmire Creed 2, which you can find on taleofpainters.com. To paint the bamboo, I used an Ogryn camo base coat, which was then washed with Agrax Earthshade. Ogryn camo was then dry brushed on top, and finally there was a Screaming Skull dry brush. To paint the rocks, I base coated with Dawnstone base coat, and then I washed with Agrax Earthshade before finally giving it a Screaming Skull dry brush. For the bone, this was a Wraith Bone base coat with a mix of Skeleton Horde and Contrast Medium washed over, and then a Screaming Skull dry brush. For the Gnarlwood, I used an Abaddon Black base coat, and then on top of that I dry brushed Barak Gnar Burgundy, followed by Corn Red dry brush, and then a Bugman's Glow dry brush, followed by a Kislev Flesh dry brush. I then used Berserker Bloodshade and Contrast Medium wash all over before painting the base of the trees with Leviathan Purple. To paint the base, I base coated them with Deathclaw Brown, and then I used Agrax Earthshade wash over the top before giving it a Jaquero Orange dry brush. A final dry brush of Screaming Skull was applied. For the Serathon Ruins, these were base coated Abaddon Black and then painted Sons of Horus Green over the top. A wash of Agrax Earthshade was then followed by Cyberite green dry brush before a final light dry brush of Screaming Skull. One more final thing, I'm holding a summer sale on all my Get a Grip products over on eBay. Check it out using the link in the description.